Hey folks, Steve Vai here, and it is a lovely Thursday in April in sunny Southern California, and I'm here in the Harmony Hut doing my Thursday Under It All live stream. And this is, it's been really nice. I've been enjoying this very much, hanging out with you guys. And, I like to, on Tuesdays, as some of you know, I do the Alien Guitar Secrets, and that's where I play guitar and I talk about music and talk about you and your career and some of the questions you have about your career and music, and maybe some questions about me. But here, Thursday at noon and Under It All, it's more sort of like esoteric type questions and different kinds of discussion. So what I am going to do is jump right in right now. And this is Under It All, episode 5. And I was considering naming this episode The Most Important Question. And what I'm referring to is the most, perhaps the most important question that you can ask yourself right now. What would that be? If you could ask yourself a question that would have a real connection to the quality of your life, that would have the ability to transform your life, what would that question be? Think about that for a minute. What is the most important question that I could ask myself right now? And I would like to offer that question. And that question is, how do I feel right now? How do I feel right now? Why would that be the most important question that I can ask myself in my whole life? How could that question be more important than anything else? How can that be more important than my responsibilities or my obligations? How could it be more important than my friends or my work? How could that question be more important than my own family? How could that question be more important than even my own family? How do I feel right now? It actually almost sounds like a selfish question. But in reality, every action that we take, every communication we have with somebody, every creative thing that we do stems from the foundation of how we feel right now. You can't offer something to somebody that you don't have. The quality of the way you even raise your children or deal with your creative life, or the quality of the relationship that you have with the people you're working with and your own family and everything else is joined at the hip with how you're feeling right now. So let's consider this. Everything you do is a reflection of how you're feeling, or at least I should say there's a quality that flows into what you do, your communications, that has to be in sync with the way you're feeling. It's impossible for a person to act outside of the way that they're feeling. The things you say, the actions you take, the thoughts that you have access to are all basically reflective of how you're feeling. Your emotional, I'm going to call that your emotional equilibrium. Okay. So let's just look into this a little bit, because what we're trying to get at is the actual feeling that you have inside of you. And there's all sorts of various kinds of feelings that we have on being in an emotional state. And just wanted to reiterate that if whatever you're feeling, you're sharing. However, whatever state of emotional balance you're in, that's what you're sharing with somebody else. And that's actually what you're teaching. Because you're always teaching, we are all always teaching and always learning. And you can teach fear, you can teach anger, you can teach insecurity, you can teach hate, and you can also teach acceptance and appreciation and consideration. However you're feeling, that's what you're going to be teaching, and that's what you're going to be learning, and that's what you're going to receive back. So how do we get to the bottom of how we feel? So let's experiment with this. That will be the first part of this particular Under It All. How do I feel right now? So when you ask yourself this question, there's going to be different responses for different people based on how they're perceiving this question. I'm going to perceive my coffee for a moment. Ooh, what a nice perception. Anyway, okay. So it's not uncommon for some people to ask themselves that question. How do I feel right now? And the first thing that comes to their mind may be, well, I feel a particular way because of this. Because of, let's just take for instance the coronavirus lockdown and how it might affect the way you feel. So in some people's mind, they may say, well, I feel frustrated right now. When I ask myself, how do I feel frustrated because, and then there's the mind will go into these excuses or these perspectives of why you feel a particular way, and all of those perspectives will be based on the outside world or your inner mental world. The way you feel is going to be based on those things. So you may say, well, I feel a little frustrated because I don't like the fact that I can't buy toilet paper. whatever why does everybody hoard toilet paper? How many times can you wipe your ass? Come on. So that you're not in touch then with the way you feel when you go there. You're in touch with things that other people are doing that you believe are creating the way you feel. So that's one way of looking at how you feel. You look, and then you create an outside reason why you feel that way. Okay, that's fine. That's very common. But in some people, when they're asked that question, how do I feel? They may stop and they may actually say, well, I feel, generally not bad. I actually feel pretty good. But if it wasn't for this financial crunch that I'm in right now because of blah, blah, woof, woof, I would feel better. Gone. You're had it there for a minute. The focus was on the actual feeling in the body, the emotional equilibrium, but then the mind immediately started associating it with outside things. And when you ask yourself this question, how do I feel, in the perspective that I'm presenting it, what we're trying to do is go deeper than the reasons. Go deeper than the reasons your mind is telling you why you may feel a certain way. Okay, so we're actually trying to focus on the actual feeling and not the reasons. So for some people, when they ask that question, they're able to separate themselves from the reasons and just say, where am I at right now? What am I feeling? And then and then the answer can be anything from the bottom of the dregs. I feel depressed. I feel worthless. I feel incredible guilt, to I actually feel really good. I feel intense appreciation. I feel abundance. I feel clarity. I feel love, and there's everything in between. But it's important to realize that however you feel is going to dictate the quality of your life. And you can only ever recognize that in your now. That's why the question is actually, how do I feel right now? Because your now is where you are constructing the building blocks of your whole life. Because your whole life has only ever happened in your now, in the now. It's only ever unfolded for you in the present moment. It never unfolds in the future. It can't. The future has to wait to be the present moment, and it never unfolded in the past, because when it was unfolding, it was the present moment. So at this particular moment, you are creating the quality of your life. You're creating the fundamental building block that you will then, you can then recognize as a building block for the quality of your life. So only an individual can decide what the quality of that building block is, and it is directly joined at the hip with the way they feel now. So, and this question is askable by anybody. It's not a question that, it may be perceived by some people as a silly question, or something that I don't need to engage in this self-help stuff, and asking myself a question like that, but it doesn't matter. It's not gonna work in my life. Think again, because nobody is exempt from feeling. People may not have access to be able to ask themselves this vital question, and they most certainly may not have access to doing something about it to change the way they feel. So let's dig a little deeper, and I want to ask the question again, but now this time, remove, if possible, remove in your mind all of the external events, people, things, past, future, that you believe may be the thing that is contributing to the way you feel. Just let's remove those for a minute. They're sort of like external from the way you feel. The most direct and powerful experience that you will have is in the way you feel. That's direct. Your mind thinking about past or future, or even what's in front of you right now, is not nearly as directly connected to you in the vital way that is necessary to make it experiential as the way you're actually feeling, the vibration in you. Let's just say the way that you feel is a vibration, okay? But actually it is. You can feel it's a vibration. It's a, and it varies, and it varies on different subjects. So let's take the subjects out of it for a minute and just look at the actual feeling. So you remove if it's the pandemic that's creating stress in you, just remove that and just look at the stress. This is an emotion in you, and it's dictating the quality of your life, and it's based on a thought. It's based on the quality of a thought. So, in having a recognition that the thoughts are creating the way you feel, Are you in control of those thoughts? So here we are, and we have you are able. Let's say you're able to isolate the feeling without any of the extraneous reasons as to why you feel this way. This is important to do, because when you get in touch with the way you feel, you can then approach the thought patterns that are involved with it and look at them differently. So another question is, if you were to take your entire day and ask yourself in your now, whenever your now is, and it's always your now, how do I feel? Let's say you were to be able to back up and look at your whole day and how you felt from the beginning to the end. What would you say is the majority of what would you say the emotion is that you are feeling for the majority of the time? So some feelings, some people, when they ask how they feel, they may actually say, you know what, I feel great. I feel really good. I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with the situation I'm in. I'm happy, sure, I can improve things here and there if I want. I enjoy the people around me. You know what? Generally, I feel really good. I feel really good. I like the work that I do. I like the creative things that I do. And that can be the way a lot of people feel. And sometimes it might be the way you feel a little bit of the time. Sometimes it might be the way you feel the majority of the time. And then ask yourself, how much of the day do I spend in the feeling of distress, or the feeling of, there's something there. I feel okay, but there's something there that's not right. There's something, I feel a little insecure, maybe. I feel a little angry at times. I feel a little upset at the world. I feel a little upset. Whatever that is, how much of the day do you feel that? So if whatever the majority of the emotional equilibrium is in a particular day, that's going to dictate the actual experiences that you have in your life. Because whatever you're feeling, you're looking through the world at. If you're in a state of disarray, if you're in a state of panic or fear, when you look through that into the world, those will be the things that you kind of see. You'll be attracted to seeing things based on that feeling. And as a result, you're creating your own reality based on the way you feel. So how do we approach this and find some independence from our thinking patterns to improve the way we feel on a daily basis, so that maybe even if you discover that for maybe 75% of the day you're not in a comfortable way, mentally and emotionally, and maybe 5% of the day you're really freaked out, maybe 5% of the day things are okay, things are okay, and maybe 1% of the day you're laughing and you're feeling really good. Okay. So you want to change that. You don't need the suffering. That's I know that's hard to believe for some people, that you don't have to suffer and that you're bringing it all on yourself. But for you to be able to express yourself in the world beautifully, creatively, with others, for you to be able to share the peace that you have, for you to be able to inspire others to be the better self that they have within them, for you to be able to enjoy abundance and navigate through the world as if you came here to have a good time, because that's what you really came here for, and that you came here to enjoy life and to really make the most of it and to live life to its fullest. Be careful with that idea, because the ego will tell you that what that means is you have to be rich and famous and have the abundance of all of these things that the ego believes you need to have before you can find your happiness. And in reality, that's not true. You can find it right now. It's there. And the more that it becomes your navigational launching point for the way you go through the world, the more the experiences you have in the world are really going to be fulfilling and enjoyable. And the more that you can help others, because the best way to help others is by setting a good example through your own sense of peace. That's probably, of course, there's many ways to help others, and some of those are in the doing, in the physical, But really, the most powerful way to help others by uplifting them is through your own sense of peace. But you have to have it before you can give it. And it's the best gift you can give. It is literally the gift that keeps on giving. Because love expands. And when you're in a state of peace, what you offer is love. So how do you create more of that in your life? Because, yeah, man, I want more of that. I want more feeling good, man. I want more of feeling independent. I want more of the feeling of abundance in my life. I want more joy. I want more laughing. I want more of everything that's good. Well, you can have it. It's actually there for you. It's your birthright. It's the way you're supposed to live. But it's an inside job. And it starts with the question, how do I feel right now? And the answer to that question does not require an explanation from you. Because in reality, those explanations, they're meaningless. They're meaningless. They're symbols. I'll try to make an example. I don't feel good because somebody hit my car this morning. Not me, nobody hit my car. I don't even drive. I am mad. I am upset. I am pissed off because somebody, that person came barreling down the street and was texting or something, whatever they were doing, and they hit into my car, and now I feel bad. Okay, fair enough. Now let's take a closer look at this. The bashed up car is actually a symbol that you are looking at, and it's reflecting back to you the feeling of being pissed off or angry, frustrated. Now, the reason why I say to ask yourself how you feel without introducing anything from the outside world, because what's on the outside world is relative. The car itself does not contain your anger. The smashed up car in and of itself is just a car that's smashed up. Okay? It's a symbol for you of anger, frustration. The car is not the anger or the frustration. That's something if you saw somebody else's smashed up car, it wouldn't have that effect on you. It would just be a smashed up car or fender bender car, whatever it is. But when it's your car, that's a different story. So the dented up car is a symbol for a feeling in you. And that's what we're trying to get at. And when you can realize that the car, the irrelevance of the car in actually containing an emotion that you're feeling, when you realize the falsity of that, you're looking at a dented up car. That's the simple fact. And it's not necessary to allow that symbol, because you everything that you see in the world, you give it the meaning it has for you. Everything is relative in the sense of what it means to somebody else. You give it the meaning it has for you. Every single thing, from a piece of chocolate to politics to sexuality to the music you like, everything, every single thing, the clothes you wear, the hat you wear, the tinted glasses you, whatever it is, you give it the meaning it has only for you. But that meaning has a feeling inside of you. And it's not in the thing you're looking at. It's in you. So when you want to change the way you feel, it's very helpful to realize that you and only you are in control of how you choose to give something meaning. The meaning that you choose to give something will reflect in you a particular emotional equilibrium. And that emotional equilibrium that you're feeling, as I said, is going to attract all the things in your life, and it's doing it right now. And the good news is you're doing pretty good. You're doing really good. I would assume, I would suspect that for most of you, for the majority of the day, you're actually feeling pretty good. You're actually being creative, and all the things that piss you off are in the background. And if it's not at least 50%, figure out a way to make it 50%, and not by changing things in the outside world. All stress is self-generated. All stress is created in your own mind. You inflict it on yourself. We all do. It's very common and to feel and to say, this, you're stressing me out. My job is stressing me out. All the things you are doing are stressing me out. This situation has got me freaking stressed out. This virus is stressing me out. Okay, this is very common, but it's upside down. It's backwards thinking. Another way, something that you can experiment with that will clarify this for you, is changing whenever you feel yourself saying that in your mind or to somebody else, which is very common, you're stressing me out, change it into this. I am allowing myself to be stressed out because of the things you're doing. I am allowing myself to be stressed out because of this situation, because of the way I'm perceiving this situation. So this is closer to the truth. We allow ourselves to be stressed out based on the things we believe which is based on the meaning that we are giving things. So experiment with making a habit out of asking yourself through the day, how do I feel right now? And keep in mind that the quality of everything that you do in your life, the way you are going to treat others, the way what you're even offering your children, it stems from that. And a lot of people may feel, well, no, I'm not important. I'm not important. That's selfish. It's selfish to me to put myself above others. No, it's not. Because you can't give to others something you don't have. And the only thing worth giving is your peace. And if you don't have it, you're a slave even to the dictates of others. You need to be selfish with your happiness. But the kind of selfishness I'm referring to is not the selfishness that is referred to or is understood by the world. This is mine. I'm doing this for me and me alone. I don't care about anybody else. That's a form of selfishness, and it's a despicable form, and it's actually prevalent, but it's all ego-generated. If you're not selfish with your own happiness, you can't help anybody. And in order to So in the asking of this question to yourself throughout the day, it'll give you a pause to at least look at the most important thing in your life for just a moment, even just one moment. How do I feel right now? And then if you can recognize that and realize it's actually nothing that's happening on the outside world that's causing it. It's the meaning you're giving the things on the outside world. So then you can start experimenting with changing the meaning that you're giving things. And the moment you do that, okay, so let's take the example of your car. You walked out, your beautiful car smashed by somebody that hit and ran. And that's it. You're pissed off. Okay. And then you remember, how do I feel right now? Okay, I can see it. I can see it. Now, it's very, very important that when you ask yourself this question, the thing that is looking at the question has no resistance in it. It's not criticizing you. It's not judging you for feeling the way you feel. So if you're able to say, how do I feel right now? And you notice, oh, okay, I feel pretty good. There's some things in the background that aren't, I could probably clean up. Let me clean those up, Okay, that's a relatively healthy way to look at it. But if the little voice that is looking at the way you feel recognizes, I feel pretty bad right now. Matter of fact, I feel agitated. There's fear in me. There's something that's not right. And there's something wrong with me because of that. Okay, that you're gone. Okay, that the little voice that, the witness that's recognizing the way you feel does not have to have any criticism or judgment in it. It's just recognizing, it's just witnessing, how do I feel? And it's like, okay, I see that I feel pretty bad right now. But if you find yourself saying, I feel pretty bad and I shouldn't because I'm an asshole. I'm being an asshole. I'm being, I can't feel good. That's not the witnessing presence, that's your ego. Because it's criticizing, or it's labeling things, or it's looking for blame, to blame things. So when you can just observe it, then you can do something about it. And the way you do something about it is you look for other thoughts that also make sense to you about it. Like, well, the car's smashed, but I know it's going to get fixed. That's a softer thought than the anger and the blame that you put on the situation. And then if you can hold on to a thought like that, next thing you know, you'll be able to find other thoughts that resonate with it. And before you know it, your car will probably be fixed and you'll be driving around in it. So I'm just using that as one example of infinite things that happen to you throughout the day. Not infinite, but many things that happen throughout the day. So that's something to experiment with, is asking yourself that question. And remember, it's the most important question you can ask yourself, because even the quality of your faith, the quality of if you're a religious person, even the quality of your religious practices are based on that. The thoughts you have about God are filtered through the way you feel. So this is why I say it could be the most important question you ask yourself, because from it comes everything. The first thing that comes from it is the recognition of how you feel. The second thing that can come from it is the desire, if you're lucky, if you can get past the critic in the head. The second thing that can happen is the desire to make yourself feel better. Even if 75% of your day is really happy, you can find ways of making it 76, 78, 80%, even 90%. And even when it's 100%, challenges will come. Challenges will come in your life. You don't want to not have challenges if you want to know the truth, because that's the things that bring growth. But in a state of contentment, challenges are seen differently than in a state of fear. And I can't tell you what that's like unless you can see challenges in your life in a state of equilibrium, emotional equilibrium. So experiment with that. You might find it to be really powerful. What'll happen eventually, if you stick with it, you'll start to realize that every time you ask yourself that question and you realize, I don't feel good. I don't actually feel happy and healthy and good. I am in a state of disarray because of what the Republicans or the Democrats or the Christians or the Muslims or the straights or the gays or the shorts or the fat, whatever it is, I am not happy because of that. Okay, so good luck. Don't worry, it'll get worse. It'll get so bad that your state of disarray will turn into depression. It must, because that's the evolution of stress. The evolution of stress is depression, just like the evolution of enthusiasm is passion. So you just have to decide what you want. You just have to decide what you want and stick to it, and don't give any excuses. So if you want to really help the world in a meaningful way, ask yourself that question often. And then do something about it within yourself first. Because all of the actions that you take in the world are directly related to that one thing, how you feel. And when you realize that Now, this is if a person can realize that they prefer to feel good instead of bad. It's actually tougher than you think, because most people believe they hold on to their feeling of feeling bad because they've created an identity for themselves regarding those things. And to give those things up, as I've mentioned before, if you feel like you have to surrender something. The perversity of the ego tells you that if you surrender your fear, you're going to make yourself vulnerable, you're going to be taken advantage of, and you're just going to lose because the world isn't going to change. The world is insane, and they will attack you if you give up your protection of your fear. And nothing can be further than from the truth. And that's the promise of love and of spirituality. That when you release your caustic fear, judgment, criticism, and blame, the promise of spirituality is what you experience in the world is peace, protection, security, love, clarity, all these, all everything. So I would just say experiment with that question and see where it takes you. There'll come a point, if you're lucky, where you prefer to feel better. And then every time you ask yourself, and then you might work to finding that path to feeling a little better. And then every time you ask yourself that question and you look into yourself and you feel the pangs of unrest, you're going to decide, I don't want that. So it becomes it needs to become a simple preference to feel good. It needs to be, I prefer to feel better, more. And the way to do that is to examine the quality of the thoughts in your head that are making you feel bad and change your perspective of them. That's what I talk about all the time. That's basically all I talk about. Okay, enough of that. Thank you. All right, see what else we got here. All right, hang on one second. Okay, Wild Vines music. Very thought-provoking with some very comical moments. Didn't know Steve was so witty. I often think about science. Excuse me. Corona. Never mind. I often think about science versus spirituality, reality versus fantasy, the human instinct and emotion, the quest for knowledge, and the words of the Beatles song, the further one travels, the less one knows. That's great. Okay. Very thought-provoking with some very comical moments. I often think about science versus spirituality. Well, I can give you my perspective on that. Keep in mind, just a perspective. I gotta have some coffee. I told you, right, that I got these in Istanbul. They're fantastic, very colorful, very cultural for Istanbul. I went on vacation there. It's an amazing city. Really fascinating. So much culture. Turkey. Very cool. Okay, where was I? I'm digressing. Science versus spirituality. Well, it seems to me that people are searching for answers and they're searching for truth. And they search in various ways. And those various ways are subject to whatever their makeup is for understanding certain things at a particular time in their life. This is why you may see people, or you yourself may go from one religion to another, to no religion maybe, then to spirituality, and then from one spiritual kind of doctrine to another, and these kinds of things, because you're changing. You're changing, and the way you're looking into the world is changing, but what you're looking for is the same. It doesn't end. What you're looking for is who you really are. What you're looking for is peace, absolute stability, security, the kind of security that knows no buts, like, I feel secure, but none of that. That's what people are looking for, I believe. Because I know that's what in my heart of hearts, was looking for. And so the path that they take may weave and go through different paths, but the goal is the same. And science, in some respects, is similar to religion and spirituality in that it's looking for the answer. It's looking for the answer to life. It's the big difference between what I see in science and spirituality. In science, there's the examination, the dissection, the microscoping, the deep analyzing of the outside world. The microscope is pointed up at the heavens, and it's looking at this stars and what's beyond it, and why are they expanding? What's the speed they're expanding? Where did they come from? Why are they doing so? This is all similar to religion. Remember, you take the externals out of it, take the meaning that you're giving things out of it, and look at the cause, and you'll see the incredible similarity in science and spirituality. But the path is going to be different for everybody, because everybody's has a different way of understanding things. A scientist needs to prove. They need evidence. They need hardcore evidence, and they believe that nothing is real unless it's proven with evidence. And that's fine. But that's a mindset. That's a mindset. It's not wrong, but it's not right. It's a paradox in that it doesn't matter, because the end result is going to be the same for everybody. So one can even go from being a faith-based believer to being an atheist, no belief in religion or God. And even if they're within a particular religion, their perspective within that religion can change. So you're always changing. So the big difference between science and spirituality, although they're looking for the same thing, is science looks out. Spirituality takes the microscope and turns it inside into the looking within of the self. Obviously, great things come from both, and we can see the results of science in our life and how they affect our life. Technology, all this great stuff. Science in the world has its place for sure. But so does spirituality. So those two movements of looking out and looking in, if you can find the balance in those, you can see sort of the similarities and how they can aid each other. Okay, reality versus fantasy. Reality versus fantasy. Well, we need to kind of break down a little bit of what what the fantasy is referring to here. And I'll use the idea of fantasy as being the thoughts in your mind that are projecting into the future, a fantasy future. That's one type of fantasy. Another type of fantasy is sort of a, maybe some people classify it as a form of being delirious, where you're looking into the world and seeing things that are not there. You're seeing fantasy. You're seeing fantasy thoughts. So I guess there might be different ways of describing or defining what you mean by fantasy. But I'll just take the idea of thoughts in your mind about some kind of future situation. It's important to realize that every thought you have about the past is a fantasy. Because it's based on the meaning that you're giving your past. As I mentioned before, we give everything in our life the meaning it has for us and us alone. So in a sense, your past is a fantasy, and it's your own personal fantasy. But it's not reality. It's your pseudo sense of reality. And for those of you who are just joining in and expecting to see Steve Vai wailing on the guitar and teaching you how to bend notes and string your guitar, this is the Under It All Thursday sessions, where I talk about more esoteric, spiritual type things. So in one of our Under It All sessions, I was describing the difference between your personal reality, your personal sense of pseudo-reality, and true reality. So your sense of reality is based on how you see the world through your eyes, which is conditioned by your past, by your culture, by the things you were taught, by the history books you read, the things your friends said, the things your parents did, etc., etc., etc. You see the world through those beliefs, and that's your sense of reality. And no other thing in the universe has the same sense of reality. Your dog or your cat has a completely different sense of reality, whatever that is, as does your brother or your sister or your parents or anybody. All different senses of reality based on their conditioned thought patterns. They think it's reality. We believe it's reality, but it's a pseudo-reality. True reality is what you discover when you relax your pseudo-reality. But this requires you to have no beliefs, but nothing more than zero beliefs about anything. You need to enter that state of mindful presence that has no thought in it, only intense attention, to start seeing what actual reality is. And the quality of true reality that makes it so different from your sense of pseudo-reality is that it never changes. It's constant one. It's oneness. There's no variations in it. There's so many people that are qualified to talk about this, and I highly encourage you to check them out, find them. You'll find what's right for you, but it's vital. It's vital. It's so important to at least understand, have this in your life somehow. You do. Okay, so reality versus fantasy. Fantasy is the thought patterns that are generated from your pseudo sense of reality. And they're fine. They're nice. They're part of the creative process for you. But they are not reality. True reality. The human instinct and emotion. That's a good one. And it's going to require, you know what? I'm out. Hang on 1 second. You ever notice now these days, even when you're using just a tissue, it's kind of like, I don't want to waste it. I don't want to waste it just to wipe my mouth. I have to recycle this tissue because God knows there's none in Gelson's. All right. Okay. Human instinct and emotion. Well, instinct is a pretty big word, and they're pretty different. When I refer to the word instinct, what it means to me is that impulse in you to take action that is appropriate for you. So you have an instinct to reach for a particular type of food that's right for you. Your instincts will know what the right thing for you is to do. Now, when we see animals are pretty strictly instinctual creatures. They're just connected to the flow of nature, which then will instinctually make them fly in a certain pattern together. You know, it's an impulse in them that arises from the creative impulse of the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. There's something happening in every single thing that is part of its expansion, and what is guiding it to its expansion is its internal instincts. So when you're in touch with your instincts, now I want to clarify the difference between what some people believe their instincts are. A lot of people may think in their mind, oh no, I know for sure. I have a feeling about this. I have a feeling about that person or about this situation. You can't depend on that. A feeling can be generated by the fearful egoic mind. And you may confuse it, or at least the mind may confuse it as it being an instinct. But your instincts are going to always arise in you as a simple impulse to make a left instead of a right, to put this in your mouth instead of that, to say this instead of that. Now, the only thing that's obstructing your ability to get in touch with the effortless flow, the effortless, beautiful, absolutely perfect creative flow that is flowing through you, instinctual impulses, creative instinctual impulses, intuition, your inspired intuitional impulses that arise in you, that are guiding you. In our class in religion, in our episode in religion, I was speaking in religious terminology. Those impulses, some people may call it your higher self, your Holy Spirit, your Atman, your Buddha nature, your Christ nature, your God, Jesus, whatever terminology you give it, it doesn't matter. You don't have to believe in anything. You'll still have them. Your instincts are there regardless of what. As a matter of fact, your beliefs are the things that congest your ability to flow freely with your instincts. Because your beliefs are the only thing that get in the way of your ability to create an opening so your instincts can flow through you beautifully. They're very different than your emotions. Your emotions are created by the quality of the thoughts in your mind. They create the way you feel. If you're feeling good, if you're feeling in a state of effortless flow, if you're in the flow, what that means to be in the flow, what that means is you have created an opening for your natural, perfect instincts to flow through you into the world. through your creative endeavors, through your words, through everything. And that will reflect in you as an emotion. And that emotion will be a very high quality emotion. But the emotion is not the instinct. The emotion is an effect of the actions you take. And the emotion is the effect of the thoughts you're thinking, which is responsible for the actions you're taking. When the thoughts are clear, the actions you take will become a natural part of, you won't even know you're doing them, they'll just be natural. And but that requires losing all beliefs, relaxing the beliefs about anything, and trusting in your instincts. Not trusting in what you are feeling as being correct or the way things are, because you can be deceived very easily by the ego. The quest for knowledge, and the words of the Beatles song, the further one travels, the less one knows. Okay, what does that mean? Well, the quest for knowledge is obviously inherent in every, in humans. But there's two kinds of knowledge. There's worldly knowledge that consists of statistics and intelligence and intellect and facts and all of these kinds of things that humans believe that when they have more of this kind of knowledge, they will know more about the thing that they are looking for, which I described before. But this knowledge will never give it to you because it's pseudo-knowledge, because it's based on your pseudo-reality. The knowledge that's generated from your sense of reality is joined at the hip with the quality of your personal sense of pseudo-reality. And then you share it with others, and it becomes fact. Or it's believed to be fact. And there's nothing wrong with any of this. This is the way we live. But there will always be a quest for the other type of knowledge that I'm referring to. So there's two kinds of knowledge. There's worldly knowledge, which is based on all those things. And then there's true knowledge. True knowledge can only be, I might be going out of my league here. True knowledge can only be perceived when true reality is being perceived. And what true knowledge is has nothing to do with your intellectual capacity or capabilities. It has to do with the deep realization of what is. I'm not qualified to go further with that one, what true knowledge is. But it resides in reality, not pseudo-reality. And we will search for it until we find it. So the further one travels, the less one knows. That's easy. Because the ego believes that it knows. It realizes, it believes that its sense of pseudo-reality is truth. But the more one travels on the path to discovery of the truth of who you are, the more one realizes that they've been looking through the world through a lens of pseudo-reality, of their own conditioned thoughts. And in reality, they don't really know much, because the things that they believed they knew were true start to dissolve because they're pseudo-truths. So the further one travels, I might add to it, the further one travels with the desire to discover the truth of who they are, the less one knows. And being in a state of not knowing is freedom. It's a form of freedom, because you've unburdened yourself from lies and false beliefs. And in reality, you can't know. True knowledge will not come until you've discovered the truth of who and what you actually truly are, beyond your name, beyond the story of your life that you make in your head, that changes from day to day. All that has to be, that's what you believe you know. You believe that you know yourself. You believe you know, no, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is my life, this is what happened to me. I know all that stuff. That's true, and I believe this because of this. Well, the more you travel on the path of the discovery of who you truly are, you realize, whoops, maybe actually, that's not necessarily true. And the evidence of that is because I've changed my mind about it many times. How could anything that's actually be true be subject to me changing my mind about it? When you do that, you're looking through the eyes of your pseudo sense of reality. Okay? And one of the things that you start to discover is, I really don't know. And there's freedom in that. And that's what I think, that's how I would describe this line. The further one travels, the less one knows. So there you have it. Okay. Jennifer Lace. I see you on here a little bit often. Very nice. One second. Let's listen to Steve I drink water. Okay. Jennifer says, I think, therefore I am. It's actually upside down. It's perfectly upside down. And I don't mean to correct Descartes, but I actually see that statement, I think, therefore I am. I actually see it as reverse. I am, therefore I can think. The I am, the sense of I am, doesn't have any thinking in it. There is no thinking. It's a direct realization of who you are. Consciousness itself. Awareness itself. Awareness has no thought in it. I am. And because I am, therefore, I can think. And I can act. And I can do this. And I can do that. But you can't do any of that stuff unless you realize that first you are. I mean, I understand, and a lot of this is Norman Kletcher and Billy Kletcher. A lot of that may be based on just terminologies. I think, therefore I am. No, sorry, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense at all. The opposite makes sense, to me at least. And that's all that matters, is that it makes sense to me. And that whatever makes sense to you makes sense to you. All right, let's see what else we got here. Hi, dear Steve. You're my hero, and I was wondering if you can help me with my depression. How did you overcome depression? I've been feeling like this since I was 13, and now I'm 17. By the way, this question came in on the private email that you guys, if anybody is interested, they can send questions, if they're private, personal questions, to underitall@vi.com or alienguitarsecrets@vi.com. And I see those, and I've seen many people have written, Thank you for sending your questions. Yes, they are of a more personal nature, and all I can do is my best to try to help based on the experiences I've had in my life. And so feel free if you have, and I will keep those questions. They're important because I know they're important to you, and I will do my best at some point to get to them all. But if your questions that you send to the email are, I would just say, it's not necessary to send questions like, I really need to know what kind of strings you use. I mean, if that's an important question to you, I'll answer it, but there's a different format for that. That's not a personal question. It's not something that is going on in your life that you might be looking for some relief on and taking the risk that I could help. Anyway, here we go. Hi, Steve. Hi, dear Steve. You're my hero, and I was wondering if you can help me with my depression. How did you overcome depression? I've been feeling like this since I was 13, and now I'm 17. I'm thinking about ending my life right now because my family hates me, and I'm not happy. The only thing that I love is music, and I can't even buy a guitar with a Floyd Rose. I was going to get one for my B-Day, but now it's impossible because of the virus and the economic crisis. I'm sorry if this makes you feel bad or sad, but Steve, you're my hero. You're the only one that inspires me and makes me feel better. I love playing your songs and listening to your music and really hope that if I'm still alive, I would really love to meet you. So please, what can you say to me? Any advice? You're the reason why I'm still alive. Well, I guess when I called this hard questions, I was asking for it. Give me one moment. Well, I would obviously say there is many, many, many more reasons to live besides me. And you are going to discover them. Now, first I would say to you, if you were to tell me that you lost one of your siblings, or you lost your husband or your wife, or your child even, I would say to you, I don't know how you feel. I can imagine, but I don't know how you feel. When you write me a letter like this, I'm very confident in telling you, I know how you feel. I used to feel that way for a particular period in my life. But not anymore, not even close. And all right, I want to tell you something, that this feeling of despair, this feeling of helplessness, of hopelessness, this feeling that you want to end your life, it may come in waves, like a little wave. And when you are on the downside, meaning you're not actually contemplating taking your own life, seek some help. There are people that can help you. There are hotlines, suicide hotlines. And I highly recommend when you're there, in that little space of clarity, it is okay to reach out. There are people that know how you feel. There are people that can help you. And you owe it to yourself to find that help if you feel, if you can move in that direction. So that would be the first thing I would say. Well, that's the second thing. The first thing is, I know how you feel. And that the feeling of ending your life, of suicide, it's a momentary thought. It's something that comes, but it's important for you to know that it passes. It will pass. I can tell you about my own experience with this when I was younger. And it's important for you to know, from the age 13 to the age 17, there's a lot going on in you right now. That's the age that you're discovering your own independence. This is the age that you are discovering that you have your own likes and you have your own dislikes, and you have the things that are attractive to you that you enjoy and the things you don't. And you're starting to discover your independence. And when you feel that your independence is being compromised, you will experience depression. You absolutely will, because that's what depression is. It's the compromising of your freedoms. But it's so important for you to know that only you can compromise your sense of freedom. Nobody else. So when I was younger and I was going through this, it was always sort of in the background when I was 13, 17, all the way through 17, 20. Finally peaked when I was 20, lasted about a year and a half, and then I was on the mend, and it just never went back. So what was it? What was that thing that turned it for me? In a nutshell, it was my surrendering to the fact that I know nothing. But let me try to give that to you in an easier way. When a person is in a state of depression that's so bad, the pain is so heavy, the psychological suffering, which is hell, is so heavy that they start entertaining thoughts of oblivion. Meaning, I have to get out of this and I don't care how, and killing myself starts to sound like a good idea. And that's the elusive nature of that kind of suffering. When that suffering is so heavy, it creates these thoughts that are as twisted as the suffering itself. So I remember when I was in that state, and it just was basically, you don't, right and wrong doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong. There's just, I need relief from this pain right now, and the only recourse I can imagine that's going to help is killing myself. Okay? That is not uncommon in people that commit suicide. It's important to realize that it passes. It's a momentary thought, and then there's a little dip, and then it may come back, and then a dip. In those dips is when you have access to actually making real change. And what happened to me, and maybe this can help you, there was a point where the suffering was so intense. I got up one night, I was 21, and I was going to do something terrible. And right before I did it, I heard this. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't like a voice that came to me in my head. It was an intuitional understanding that came from from another place. And what it said was, this isn't going to solve anything. As a matter of fact, it's going to make it worse. You need to figure this out in this life now, and you will. Okay? And this was immediately what I needed to hear at that moment. It brought me some. It just sounded like reason. Now, what is at the core of this suffering that you're having, that's causing you to actually consider oblivion? It's the compromising of your freedom. It's the compromising of your sense of independence and freedom that's brought on by your belief that something in the outside world has control over you. like your parents. Now, it's not uncommon when a person is going through this stage of discovery within themselves, the ages of 13 through 17, that's the perfect time. Everything is changing. The hormones are changing. You know, your independence, your sense of independence is developing. And what that means is you're discovering there's things you like that maybe your parents don't like. And there's things that you prefer in your life, in your culture, in the way that you conduct your life, that maybe your parents don't agree with. Okay, so it will be very difficult for you to understand how your parents feel until you have kids of your own. Because a parent, the love that they can feel for their child is so great, you won't understand it until you have children. From your perspective, it may feel like, why do they bug me like that? Why are they constantly all over me? Why do they dictate what I should do and what I shouldn't do? Why don't they leave me alone? Why do they think this about me when it's not true? Or whatever it is. It's hard to understand until you have kids. Besides the primordial impulse to protect, the love that a parent has for a child is virtually unconditional. It's unconditional. A parent would offer their life if they could save the life of their child. That's how much your parents love you. There's no way to describe this until you are a parent, and then you will know and see how your parents feel now and why they're so crazy. And why they do such crazy things. Because this love is so great, when it's coming through a person that has any fear in them, it will turn into control. It'll turn into the feel of the need to control the child. Because what it says is, no, I know what you need. I know what's right for you. You have to do what I know so that you don't make the same mistake that I made. And you can't do this and you can't do that. And if you do, I will be really mad. I will be so angry with you because you want to do things your way. And you need to do them the way I am telling you because I know better what you want and what you need and what's best for you than you do. You have to trust me on this. And if you don't, I'm going to punish you. This is what fear does when it's twisted. This is what love is when it's twisted through fear. It becomes a perverse sense of wanting to control. So when you hear your parents that you believe don't love you saying these things that are leading you to believe that they don't understand you, they don't care about you, they don't know what you want, they don't love you. You said it right here. It's not true. It's just not true. It's the way they're expressing it that's a little concerning. It's the way that they're expressing it, but you can take to the bank that they love you so much that they're in fear. They're in fear of how much they love you. That's why they want you to be different. They do not understand that you have your own guidance system, that you are already doing okay. You know what you want. They can't trust your instincts for you. And it's simply because their love is so great, they are in fear that anything will happen to you. Even when they punish, if your parent says, "Get out of my house. I don't want you living in my house anymore. You don't have any respect. You don't do the things that we need, that we need to do. Get out. I don't love you. I don't even know how you became my child." Some parents will say that. They'll even say worse things like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it is laughable. What's wrong with you? And then you take it seriously. What they're actually expressing is their fear because of their love for you. I love you so much that if anything happened to you, I can only hold myself to blame. And that is something that I absolutely cannot live with. And I believe that if you get out of my life and get out of my house, I will feel better, because then I won't be responsible for the things that happen to you. You see where I'm going with this? So can you see this? Can you see that the things that your parents are doing are out of love and you're taking them personally? You don't have to. You can forgive your parents. Or I should say, can you? Can you forgive your parents for the way that they are seeing their love for you through their fear? That's a good one. Can you find your own independence quietly? What that means is, can you feel good about yourself without buying into people who are telling you other things about yourself that are reflections of their own fear? Can you? Can you find, because let me tell you something. When you find this independence, you're free. You're free. That's how you relieve that's how the depression dissolves. You realize, you come to the realization of how free you actually are. But you have to find a way to not buy into the opinions of others about you. Or you're just fucked. You're just going to continue to feel depressed. Okay? But you have to do this yourself. Okay, let me give you an example. You have likes and you have instincts for the things that you like and the things you don't like. There's certain kinds of music that you like, that you don't, and stuff you don't like. There's certain ways that you like to dress. There's certain ways you like, things you like to do with your hair, with the kind of clothes you wear. There's certain ways that your quirky self, your real self, loves to express itself. There's a certain sexuality within you that may be expressing itself or may be buried based on your fear of rejection from the world, which is an insane thought, which only compromises your own sense of freedom, which could be at the root of a lot of your suffering, because you're allowing the opinions of the world to dictate the way you feel. And if that's the case, you will always suffer. Finding your independence is the discovery that it is absolutely okay to be exactly who you are and to allow others to be exactly who they are without having to criticize them for it. Because if you're criticizing others for who they are and the things they do and the things they like, you're doing that to yourself and you're attacking yourself and you're creating stress in yourself. And the depression is the evolution of the stress. It's unnecessary, and you are going to be so happy when you find your independence from the opinion of others. I'll give you an example. Okay, so let's say that all the things that you enjoy in life, whatever it is okay. It's okay for you. And whatever it is that anybody else enjoys in their life is okay for them. Now, let's say all of a sudden, though, you're in a family that, and you have to, okay, let's say that you're in a family with parents and siblings that believe that what is right for them is right for you. Now, yes, in some situations, yes, that might be the case. But on a personal preference level, no, it's not the case. But a lot of people believe it is. They believe that this is the right political party. And if you don't follow it, you're just wrong. Or they might feel like, nope, this is the right God, and I need to teach you this God. And if you don't believe it, you have to. You have to. You have to because it's correct. And if you don't, you just have to, or you just have to. Okay. Your need to approve the things that other people believe are right for you is unnecessary. You don't have to have a need, and you don't have to be upset when other people actually feel that what they believe is right for them is right for you. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's say you went home one day, and I don't know your parents. I'm sure that, no, I'm not sure of anything. But I'm going to, and I don't know what the situation is really, that your home and life situation. It could be pretty caustic. It could be pretty combative. It could be abusive. You have choices in all of this. But finding your independence is the first most vital move, and that is all here. So let's say you were having a conversation with a parent, and they were saying, I understand you like chocolate. We have to have a talk about this. You have to like vanilla. I like vanilla, and I know that vanilla is much better than chocolate. So you need to like vanilla better than chocolate. You have to. If you don't, I just don't know. You're just wrong, and you just have to like vanilla. Don't you see? Don't you see that I need you to like vanilla, not chocolate? And you're like, well, no, I just like chocolate, and you like vanilla. That's fine. Or you're like, but I like chocolate. God damn it, I like chocolate. Why are you always pushing your vanilla on me? Why are you pushing your vanilla on me all the time? I just don't like vanilla. So then you go into the next room, and there's your mother, and she says, we have to have a talk about the kind of music you listen to. I don't like this music you're listening to. It's bad. And you need to change. You need to change the music you're listening to so that I am happy. So that when people see my daughter or my son, they have a good impression of me. They know that I did okay. I did okay because you don't like that music and you like vanilla. Okay, so now you see the folly in this, how ridiculous it is, right? Because you're just like, well, I just like Led Zeppelin, and I'm not a big Stravinsky fan, or whatever it is. So let's now change some of these parameters, whereas your father comes to you, or whatever, it's all hypothetical, and they say, we have to have a talk. I hear you're gay. You can't be gay. You have to be straight. I'm straight. And what's right for me has to be right for you. You just don't understand. As a matter of fact, I cannot accept the fact that you like chocolate over vanilla. Oops, I'm sorry. I mean that you are gay and not straight. It means the same thing, by the way. It's just a twist in perspective. I need you to be straight so that everybody knows I raised my child, and not more and more every day. Parents aren't feeling this way. They don't, they love you and that's fine. They don't care. A lot of parents they're just happy that you found and are able to express your own sense of sexuality comfortably. You know, a lot of parents have that too, but I absolutely know people that their parents do not have that perspective, and they are actually personally hurt that you're gay or whatever. I'm not gay, I'm just using that as a relatively hot, can be a hot spot in a lot of families. And don't be gay so that I can be happy. This has nothing to do with you, and you don't have to have anything, you don't have to buy into it. So when your sense of freedom feels compromised, it will never work for you. And it will always cause frustration in you and a feeling of angst. And when you believe it, you will start to, when you believe the opinions of others about you that you don't feel, I'm just using gay as one example. It could be the fact that you want to be a musician and your parents say, nope, that's not it for you. That's not. What they're saying is, I can't accept it for me personally. But you do not have to buy into any of that stuff. If your parents are imparting wisdom on you, you'll know it. You'll feel it. It'll make sense to you, and you will incorporate it into your decision making. But if they're dictating fear, you'll know it, you'll feel it, and it'll cause disruption in you if you believe it. If you allow it, you do not need to allow it. Why should you? Why should you? You can love your parents and forgive them for their conditioned mentality, and still be who you are and be very happy about who you are. As a musician, as straight or gay or whatever it is, that's your quirky personality that is you, that is necessary in the world to be unique, to be creative on levels that are unique. That's how valuable exactly who you are is. So you do not need to put yourself in a state of hell to embrace the one thing in you that is so vital in your expressions in the world for the quality of life in the world, which is your unique personal self, be it the person that likes vanilla or chocolate, straight or gay, this music or that music, whatever it is for you, accept it and enjoy it and embrace it and allow people to have their own opinions without it affecting you. That's called independence. And when you do that, you also, just by reciprocal nature, you are allowing others, because that's freedom and independence too. A lot of people don't realize that they're trapped in hell because they are expecting others to be different so they can be happy. That's called hell, because it doesn't work, and it never will. Because you're expecting somebody else to change so that you can be happy. No, it just doesn't work. Because what you're doing is compromising the freedom of the other. And it might work in the honeymoon period for a little while, but eventually the freedom of that person, meaning their likes and their dislikes, are going to come out, and the honeymoon is over, unless you can allow it. People say to me, how is it that you've been in a 41-year relationship with the same woman and monogamous? And it's the simple answer is, besides the fact that we really get a kick out of each other, and that she's been my greatest life teacher, we give each other the space to be who they are without dictating how the other should be. We don't trample on each other's sense of freedom. We support it. You're never going to see me get on a horse and go riding around. Well, I might get on a horse and somebody pulling it, but I'm never going to tell my wife not to ride a horse because it's dangerous. That's her choice, and I support it. And that's how you create
nice, fun relationships support the interest of the other and allow them their interests. I tell my wife, exhaust all desires within reason. Because there's a lot that I just cannot supply to you. I'm not going to be going out with you and your friends as much as you like to go out. I can't go on all the trips that I know that you deserve and want to go on, but I want you to enjoy those things. I want you to have those opportunities. So when you are allowing the other their perspective, you're not compromising their sense of freedom, which will never work. It will always backfire. So you cannot allow your sense of freedom to be compromised, and the only thing that will ever compromise your sense of freedom is your belief that you need to be different because to make others people happy. That it will never work for you. What that does is cause stress in you, which evolves as time goes by. It turns into depression. And as depression evolves, it turns into incredible guilt, incredible feelings of unworthiness. And when that kind of suffering occurs in you, you want to kill yourself. It's unnecessary, and you're not escaping anything. And you need to figure this out now. And you can. And I have news for you. You will. You are. You're figuring it out right now. Whether you believe you're going to figure it out or not doesn't matter. You will. Everybody will. At some point, everybody will wake up. And if it's not in this life, maybe it's another. I don't know. But that's the evolution of consciousness. So listen, you're doing fine. You really are doing fine. And yes, I do understand what you feel like. It's based on you allowing your sense of freedom to be compromised. And if there's any message that I can give you far above and beyond my music or even your respect for me, anything like that, it's this. Nothing is worth compromising your sense of freedom for, because when you are embracing your freedom, you are in a state that you came here to be in. Life is supposed to be fun. Life is supposed to be enjoyable. Life is supposed to have its challenges. The challenges are vital in the growth. You just don't have to remain in the challenge. The challenges are vital. Nothing evolves without being challenged. And you're being challenged now, and you're going to blossom past it. I'm telling you, you are. Relax. No need to take everything so seriously. Be playful. Be playful about these things. As long as you're alive, there's something you can do to help others. Even if it's just a good thought about them, that's enough. Don't deprive others of your ability to help them. And of course, there's also other opportunities for people to seek help when they're in this state of intense disarray and fear. Some of these may involve hooking up with a professional. There are people that understand that can help. And if you feel like none of anything that I'm saying here can be helpful, maybe you can find some of that help in some of those other people, therapists. But psychotherapy, at its most effective, will only ever focus on one thing. It will focus on showing you that the thoughts in your mind are unreal and they're producing fear and an illusory sense of reality that's just not true. Truth psychotherapy shows you the obstacles in your own mind that are keeping you from your true free self. And that are causing you the pain that you're in. But your true self is a happy one. It's a joyful one. It's there. It's in you. Most certainly, unequivocally. It's who you are. Find that. Find that true. Be grateful. Find appreciation in your true self, in the things that you like, the quirkiness that you are, the silly jokes that you like, the humorous things you like to do, your wit, your sense of taste, your flavor, and your own, the way you like to comb your hair, the kind of sex you enjoy, the kind of people you like to engage with, the kind of places you like to go, the way you, all the things that you do that feel natural and comfortable to you. Embrace them. Those are they're beautiful, and they will give you a sense of, when you let go of what, it reminds me of this friend I had, Allie Willis. Some of you might know of Allie Willis. She was so remarkable. She passed away last year. And this woman was so beautifully unique to herself that you just felt good being around her. She had all these funny, quirky likes and such an incredibly unique sense of humor and sense of wit. And she was a big girl, wild hair, gay. The clothes she wore was crazy. Check her out, Allie Willis. I adored her. That was a woman who was uniquely herself and enjoyed it and thrived in it. And I just chose her for an example. But that person is in you, and you owe it to yourself now in this life to find that person. And I'm here to tell you that it's there. And I wish you the best. All right. Thank you for joining the Under It All, Episode 5. The most important question you can ask yourself: how do I feel right now? And Tuesday we'll be doing at noon. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do one. Alien Guitar Secrets. And I'm going to play. I'm going to figure out what song I'm going to play. I think I'm going to start playing to some backing tracks, because I know you guys like that. But I'm going to talk more about the guitar. I forget the subject I was going to really focus on. I'll come up with something that you guitar players will enjoy. But till then, thank you. I see you, and I appreciate you.